Hey guys, today on the podcast, we will be discussing how first responder organizations, Weatherford Fire Department, ESD1, and every fire department in the county has come together to train with us, PCHD EMS, as one unit to make patient care better. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the PCHD EMS Podcast. We're here with Dr. Northeim. Dr. Northeim, if you want to introduce our guests.
Sure. We're here with Parker County ESD1 Assistant Chief Chief Pruitt. We're here with two from Weatherford. We have Chief Peacock and then Lieutenant Franklin. And so we're going to be talking today about kind of integrating fire departments with EMS structure. And I know it's kind of a topic that doesn't really apply to everyone, but certainly apply to us here in the county. And I guess I just want to talk about kind of, the changes that have been made in the last year. And in my mind, if we're going to have a fire apparatus respond code to a call, they should be an active part of the patient care, obviously an active part of our training, our integration, our team. And so kind of start with Chief Pruitt and kind of talk about, maybe the way things used to be and the way things are now and the progression, and certainly there's more work to be done, and I think that over the past year there's been several changes. So we'll kind of start there, and then love to get everyone's opinion on where we are now, where we kind of came from, and where we're going to go.
Yeah, I think prior to Best EMS coming on and everything, the fire departments worked solely as an ECA atmosphere, just as first response. There wasn't a whole lot of integration with the hospital district and the fire departments. They kind of did their own thing and we did our own thing. The relationships was there as far as personalities on the street. Everybody got along well with each other, but the formalized working relationship wasn't there, and that's come a long ways over the last year.
What do you think the boundaries were? Do you think it was do you think there was a fear of potentially fire taking over EMS? Do you think that there was potentially just the county is large, we're over 900 square miles, so was it hard to get everyone trained to be on the same page? What do you think the boundaries were?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think everybody was trying to stay in their own lane. The hospital district felt like they were ultimately responsible for the EMS response, and the county as a whole. The fire department, in some cases, felt like they were solely responsible for fire response, and just the integration wasn't there, and the conversations hadn't started yet at that time.
Okay. Franklin, what have you seen change? I mean, you've been out on the street. I know we've run a lot of calls together. What's kind of the opinion from the crews, and what's changed and what's become better for our patients in the county?
Yeah, everybody loves what's going on now, getting to see you on calls, getting to do more things. I think I can agree with Chief here. The last few years, especially prior to Best EMS, it was, we had a great relationship with everybody, but it was basically, hey, y'all good? Everybody's good? All right, we'll see you later. And nobody really cared about that. And now, that we're all training together, we're seeing each other more, we've got new protocols, we're doing cool things, guys are excited about it. The EMS crews want to see us. When we get there, guys don't want to just leave. They want to practice those new skills they just learned. So, we're probably 85 to 90% BLS responders. We're an ALS responder organization, but most of our guys are EMTs, and for them to increase their skill level and get to do some cool things, I mean, the culture's really changed. Guys are excited about that.
So tell us about your squad. You guys run a squad, which I think's unique for a fire department. Just tell us about that.
We do. We have a squad. It's a quick response unit. It runs out of Station 1. It's got 2 firefighters on it, and they run to everything. All the fire calls, but having those guys out there alone and getting to EMS calls quick, and a lot of times beating the box, that's been a great thing for us.
Okay, Chief Peacock, what are your thoughts? What have you seen?
Well, one of the interesting things that I can say is that we all kind of touched base at one fire department one time through Azle Fire Department. And coming over in '99, the only fire departments in Parker County that ran ambulance was Mineral Wells and Azle. And so more progressive with the things that they did, but the rest of the county basically just like what Chief Pruitt said, operating more at an ECA level. So that was kind of a culture shock coming over, and kind of what Lieutenant Franklin alluded to is you had people that were paramedics or EMTIs at the time, having that desire to want to continue to practice skills, but not having the ability to due to what was carried on the apparatus and stuff. So as things begin to progress, and especially with y'all coming on board, it has just been night and day. And I always said, if we compare to Tarrant County and the systems that operate there, we're now stepped up to that level and moving beyond. And so that's exciting, and to be able to expand as we continue kind of grow our budget and expand things to be able to do more.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you guys are seeing? I mean, obviously we've talked about documentation, adding ESO. Obviously, it's a big county. We have lots of apparatus. I think our other challenge, obviously, we have two of the larger departments in Parker County. We also have a lot of volunteer services. We have services that it's kind of tough to get everyone together. It's tough to train together. We've been doing, I think, a good job with our supervisors going out and teaching. We did high-performance CPR throughout every single fire department and EMS here in Parker County within about 6 or 7 weeks, which was a huge undertaking. That was a big piece, but I think our biggest challenge has been how do we get everyone together to train together, right? It's tough mixing with fire training, EMS training, and just the size of the county. So I think that's kind of our biggest thing going forward is how to make that work. Everyone has their own training schedules and different schedules and people out and different shifts, 24s, 48s. It makes it difficult. And I think the other piece was, exchanging of material, right? So if you guys use a nasal cannula, how do we exchange that out? And I think that was a challenge before. I think that's gotten better. But what are some of the kind of challenges going forward, and how can we make those things work out?
I think one of the basic challenges, as you kind of mentioned when you first started on that segment, again, comparing to an agency that runs an ambulance, your report writing is usually just fantastic. And with agencies that don't run that, and coming from kind of that, the ambulance was on scene, so your report's minimum, and then taking them from that culture and teaching them that how important the report writing is and what a role it plays in now, but not just now, but possibly years later, and strengthening that up, because that's important, but also the feedback that we get from your organization as well, how we did on a call. Hey, let's talk about this particular report. Those are key fundamental things that bring accountability to all levels, and I'm excited about that part as we continue to grow that out.
What are you guys seeing with the code stat reports? We've kind of gotten those up and running. I know our crews get it back, and we're trying to get Nathan to get it out to the first responding entities as well. Are those helpful to see how the CPR came together? I know we're getting to the point where your life packs will be able to stay on the patient so we can download the code stat data, but how's that looking at the dinner table or when we present it to crews?
I've seen a big morale boost from our staff. Life Care's been sending those reports to us. I'm able to transfer that data to the specific duty crew that was on, let them know, the outcome of the patient, what, in that report says what was done good, what was done bad. It's an opportunity for the crews to sit at the kitchen table and talk about it. And those guys seem to be taking that information and going forth and doing better on the next one.
I was definitely going to say morale boost. When we first started getting them, guys were like, oh yeah, this is cool. There's a lot of info in here. And now that we see them, guys can see, the result from their hard work and see what changes they need to make and know that they provided a positive outcome. I mean, guys are pretty excited. It went from me sending them out to, guys are asking me, hey, do you have any more? We ran this CPR. Where's our report?
Right. So I think, our plan will be as more agencies get LifePack monitors to, have modems on them. So hopefully, if Weatherford showed up first or ESD1 showed up, they put their monitor on. We keep that monitor on for the entirety of the CPR, and that way we're able to download from the moment they get there. Prior to having the modems on the fire side, we have to switch over to our monitor. So we're not really capturing those first few minutes when, the first responders get there. But I think all the information in totality is important. We've also also done a lot with saves out here. So we've had our CPR saves, and we have an airplane downstairs where people are actually signing seats as they survive. So a lot more to do on the CPR front. I think our high performance is terrific, but it's a big county, so we're going to work with our police partners to try to get more AEDs, try to get them to respond to more codes with us. Obviously, more citizens, more AEDs out and about. I had the opportunity to have the Weatherford mayor come out and ride out with me a few weeks ago, which was great, and I kind of fed his ear with some information on that. I guess the other piece was, being limited prior, it's obviously a big change now to carry more EMS supplies, right? To talk about monitors are not cheap, AEDs are not cheap, and so what's that been financially? I mean, before you really didn't have a medical director fee, and we kind of worked together for a few years, right, and developed that because you felt it was a necessity. But I think the big thing now is, EMS equipment's not cheap, and so I think for you guys, you're maybe on scene for a couple minutes before we get there out in the county. It could be a little bit longer, so you got to kind of find that happy medium where we're not carrying too much stuff and throwing it away or trading it back in, right? How do you deal with that financially?
I think the cooperation with the hospital district on the exchange program has been very helpful, trying to get out ahead of medications expiring. Turn those in to the hospital district early so that they have the opportunity to use them. As far as the cardiac monitors and all that, we currently just carry AEDs with 3-lead capability. It's something that we're looking into to start phasing in, on our rescue apparatus or whatever, cardiac monitors. But LifeCare's response has also increased over the last couple, 2 or 3 years with more ambulances in the county, location, positions that they're placed in. So we're not seeing there are cases that we still have delayed responses or overwhelmed days, that they're out of pocket, but it's not as often as it was, 5-10 years ago.
You're not having to empty your bag on most calls.
Right.
I think the growth with the ambulance service has been critical countywide. So with all this, like you said, with all the stations, because there was times even in the city that it was a very long time when they're at level 0. And so as a fire chief now versus somebody on the line then, it's like it is a huge relief to know that the transport capability will be there for the patients.
And as well for PCHD, I mean, we just put our 3rd Tahoe. We also have a physician Tahoe on order, but we're going to have a physician here right now, 4 days per month. It probably will be going up a little higher next fiscal year. But the Tahoe concept is really helpful for us because, to put blood and plasma on every apparatus, to put butterfly ultrasounds in every apparatus, to kind of carry these extra above and beyond type items obviously get expensive, and so to have a Tahoe free potentially when all the ambulances are out, right? That's a big help. So do you guys see the positivity of having those Tahoes, and what do you think about having physicians wandering around the county? Has that been helpful?
It's been well received on our end in Weatherford, and actually it's impressive when you see that when they show up. I feel like the crews welcome that with open arms. Plus also the almost the instant feedback that you can get when the scene's complete has been fantastic. So I've never been able to experience that outside of this agency. So to me, that was like, hey, that's amazing. That is something that needs to stay.
I think that's a scary thing for a lot of agencies, especially on the fire side. Man, the doc's going to be around. Are they going to, take our skills? Are they going to be, writing us up? I think the collaboration that we have is great. I love running calls with all your crews and throughout the county, and I've gotten, to know them personally. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think the crews enjoy it. Especially on more critical calls, kind of just once that's done, us being able to ask a few questions, maybe things we don't understand, that's been helpful. I think the citizens enjoy it too. I don't know how many times I've heard on calls that y'all are there that I'll hear them kind of whispering in the background, hey, that's a doctor. They're like, this is, they're doing something special out here. So I think people are taking notice.
Good.
I think the not only the doctor, the supervisors responding more now has been helpful to keep crew integrity with the fire engines, back in place. So many times, we'd have to pluck a couple guys off of a fire apparatus to go, to the hospital or whatever. And we were doing that to be good partners with each other and all that. But it did create some problems, out there when you got, a fire engine out of service or whatever until they get back from the hospital. And with having those supervisors in place and or a doctor, showing up, it is really relieved some of the behind the scenes problems that happens.
Right, and we also have, within our medical control system, we have one phone number that any of the first responders, if they're caught on a call before we get there or have a question, I know, during COVID, we talked several times, and the med control call will go to one of us first, and if we don't answer within 20 seconds, it bursts the other 7 physicians within Best EMS, and so I think that's helpful too. That's something that's always open for the crews when they're on a call, so you kind of have a safety net of an EMS physician to speak to, which I think is also another big positive. Where do you see us going in the next 5 years? Where do we think we're going to take this from here? This is kind of a start. We want to prevent decay with our skill, but where do we see this going in the next 5 years? I think the future is really going to be exciting.
I see our organization, we're already working with the hospital district, putting ambulances in our fire stations, working on one right now, a remodel on a fire station, so that'll be the first one, Silver Creek. There's discussion about, ambulances in a couple other of our stations and stuff. So I feel like the cooperation with the hospital district and the fire service has really done a 180 in the last couple of years. Again, it never was an issue about getting along with them or anything. It's just different entities, different supervisors, trying to come together and work together as a team. And that has really been the front point of everybody's conversation, the last couple of years, especially with Best coming on. Everybody seems to be working well. So my vision is that we continue to work well together, foster good, healthy relationships, that training continues to improve upon, over the next couple of years, and like medical equipment, supplies continue to be fostered. So I'm excited about what's coming down the pipes.
And it's strongly obvious that looks like everybody has the common goal. Everybody's heading in the same direction, which is very nice. Instead of each agency, like I said in the past, still trying to kind of, we want to do this, but the way it's operating, it's like you can see a common push, and that's refreshing. It's nice. See within our own agency, trying to expand the skill set of all our frontline crews. That's going to be important to grow so that we can provide more to the citizens in the field.
I was on a cardiac arrest last shift, and working with one of the ESD crews. And it was probably one of the smoothest interactions I've ever seen, and we just keep getting better.
I agree with that.
We went from, I think, 5 years ago where it was definitely 2 separate teams working on the same call to now, everybody can kind of fill in where they need to fill in. Everybody understands, hey, the booklet on the side of the monitor, like somebody's going to be holding that, counting time, reading off, like, hey, did we consider this? Did we consider this? Really, it was like we were all part of one team. And then we came back into the county after transporting. We stopped by the fire station, picked up my Tahoe, and then just kind of like debriefed with the crews. And it was like, hey, this is what we maybe could have done better, but other than that, like, fantastic job. Kind of just, it really felt like we were all just part of one team. And we, while you said, we got along 5 years ago, but now we're actually operating like one unit, and it's been fantastic.
I think a lot of that is based on the trust that's been built between the agencies. You don't see that redundancy taking place of the crew's there first, they do all this to start the patient care, and then you see it start all over. I'm not seeing. The trust is there, so they respect the people that are there first, relaying the information, they continue to just seamlessly move through the rest of patient care. So.
No, I think the patient handoffs that I've witnessed have been terrific, and I think that's really come a long way. If you guys already have first set and a sugar and kind of know what we're doing and just passing the patient off, it saves us a lot of time. But yeah, I can see on the fire side that being very frustrating to, do a bunch of work, respond, you get up in the middle of the night and get to a call, and then the EMS crew gets there and completely, just bypasses all your information and starts over. That could be very frustrating. I guess the last piece is priority dispatching. I think we're very fortunate to have priority dispatching here. We have what's called priority 3 runs, where just an ambulance goes, no lights, no sirens. Priority 2 is where fire entity goes in an ambulance with lights and sirens. And priority 1 is fire, ambulance, lights and sirens. Then we typically send one of the 3 Tahoes with a critical care person on it or a physician. So I think that's a big deal. What are your thoughts of that? Obviously, we're in a day of age when trying to save fuel. Apparatuses are getting more expensive, right? Apparatuses break, and getting the crew out of the station in the middle of the night, the safety of driving code. I think that's a big piece, and that's something that's certainly unique out here. Obviously, it's directly dependent on your dispatch and what information you get, and we're certainly continuing to kind of tweak the information and tweak the runs. And in my mind, a priority 1 should be a true priority 1. And so we've done internal surveys just to see, hey, when you get there, is it truly a 1? And sometimes, the crew felt it should have been a 3, right? So we're continuously trying to tweak the dispatch pattern. And Raylan is our dispatch coordinator now. He's done a terrific job here kind of helping us. He came from the MedStar system. But how does that affect you guys as first responders on the fire side?
If you're going to be dispatched for a code response, you do want to ensure that it is a priority 1 so that you don't have any issues on the other end if it's not. We're still always going to respond to our citizens and the needs of lift assist and things like that. That's the normal. That's part of our service. But as the training continues to grow through all the dispatch systems and truly understanding what priority 1 truly means, so that we're dispatched effectively.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate, I think as we continue to grow, and Raylan, you mentioned Raylan, I think I'm seeing fire alarm and the hospital district, life care dispatch, enhance their capabilities. I think the big deal is the questions asked on the call taken, and that's something that we're seeing, on both sides happen right now. I think the surveys afterwards are very important. It's going to take another year or so to get us honed in where we need to be, but it's definitely improved.
So we are doing RQI on our dispatch side as well, so that it's a program through AHA and Laerdal where they really hone in on the CPR side as well. So they'll simulate CPR runs with our dispatchers. They'll also go back and review our runs. And we really see with the agencies that are using RQI and dispatch a significant improvement, not only of getting someone on the chest, recognize cardiac arrest, doing hands only, right? I mean, is the patient awake? No. Are they breathing effectively? No. Okay, get on the chest. We're not having a layperson check for a pulse. So I think that's really helped our dispatchers. And I think not only just helped them on cardiac arrest runs, but all high acuity runs, right? Just trying to get down to the quick details. But as we know, it's a big county. People on cell phones, it's hard to ping where they're at. Sometimes they don't know where they're at. Sometimes in the county, I don't know where I'm at. That's been a challenge. But I think adding RQI has been a big piece as well. Any last minute thoughts? Anything else you guys want to add?
Just overall, I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for all the changes. I'm excited about the future, where we're all going to go as a county, and I think it's well overdue. And again, coming out of a different system as we all did, I'm sure they have that same excitement of it's that feeling of we want to be able to provide those services. We want to be where we believe we should be, and it's exciting to start that direction.
Absolutely.
I think being on the same page has been one of the biggest things. I mean, everybody just kind of did their own thing. Like you said, it was 2 separate crews on calls, and relationship was fine, but being on the same page is great. And, just continuing to get to do more stuff. I think guys have always been excited to run calls. Guys like going to EMS calls, but now they're really, truly excited about being better at EMS instead of just being good firemen. I think everybody's goal now involves EMS, where it's, before maybe it didn't.
Right, and I think we all kind of see the trend, right? I mean, I think we do more and more EMS, right? We have to be prepared for the fire. We have to be prepared for the trench, for the swift water, right? For the rescue, for the hazmat. But all in all, I mean, the majority of what we do is EMS, so we have to be good at that. And I think the thing that I try to tell all the crews is we have 100% chance of interacting with a patient that we potentially could, either help or do harm to on every single call. And fire may not be that way. Certainly, I mean, we've had them in the past where you guys have rescues, but those are few and far between in most fire departments. And so we have to be ready for everything, but I think having a strong EMS presence is really important. And I think having open lines of communication. I mean, I think that in the past that may have been a challenge. I think now we have no problem either way picking up the phone and saying, hey, we want to do this skill, we want to add this. Obviously, all of your personnel are invited to our protocol review when we have it every couple of years, and just bring us evidence-based stuff. Say, hey, we want to do this, we want to interact more, we want to carry these bags. And I think there's better both-sided communication so we can all work together for our citizens. I think Parker County is now a safer place to live.
Absolutely. And I think one of the benefits has been, if you encountered a problem on the scene, is that if you try to follow up and get to the bottom of it, it's like you didn't always have success with that. Now it's like everybody communicates and we can get those problems solved and improve our services.
I think we have high expectations across all lines, which is really exciting for me and Dr. Bertrand trying to lead the ship here and try to drive it in the right direction. So thank you all for coming today, and appreciate giving us a few minutes of your busy day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
This has been an episode of the PCHD EMS Podcast. Thank you for joining us.